exercise is a big part of the answer that will be inexpensive and very useful all around. Okay, now we're going to hear from Andras Varadi, who is a researcher we've been working with a very long time, who we tracked down and got to work on PXE. And he'll tell us a story about pyrophosphate, and you have about 15 minutes or so.
Great. Can you hear me? Good. So thank you for having me here. Actually, yeah, this way, because
Well, because it's pointed a different way today.
Okay, okay,
Try that.
right. So I'm very excited because although I have been a couple of years ago in a patient meeting, and I have very good memory, it's still new for me. And I'm very happy that I could participate. So I start immediately with a cartoon which you have seen on different ways from Yoni, from Kuhn, and I don't want to go too much into details, but I need to find the pointer.
They can't see the pointer and...
All right, then what you have heard, that there is the ABCC6 protein, and the gene encoding this protein causes the disease PXE. And what you have seen here is one liver cell, very simple representation, and from the liver cell something is going out, ATP, which is converted within the liver into pyrophosphate. And as we have heard more than one time today, pyrophosphate is a key metabolite what inhibits calcification, what is the disease causing PXE, and several other diseases. So I will concentrate on pyrophosphate in my talk. That's a very simple molecule. You don't have to look at the structure too much, but it's really simple. And what is historically very interesting, that more than 50 years ago, researchers thought, what I repeated in my previous sentence, that pyrophosphate is an inhibitor of calcification. And what we did not know, that it is the case in PXE also. And it was a very long research activity what ended about 4 years ago in two extremely important papers published by Kuhn when he was in Amsterdam and by his co-workers, when they connected pyrophosphate, the key inhibitor, to ABCC6 and to PXE, and they showed that this inhibitor, the plasma concentration of this inhibitor is lower in PXE than in healthy non-PXE individuals, and this is the metabolic, the molecular cause of the disease. When it came out, it was really an extremely exciting discovery, and the whole field of this research were very happy and congratulated, but there was one note immediately popped up, that in spite of the scientific value or the scientific excellence of this discovery, the bad news is that most probably pyrophosphate cannot be practically used to as a supplementary therapy in PXE and in other diseases because its bioavailability is very low, or zero. Actually, it was declared it is zero. Bioavailability means that we take a compound, but it does not do anything. It just goes away one way or another. So it was a dogma, I would say, that the bioavailability of pyrophosphate is zero. And giving you more details, more precisely the dogma was that if you take it orally, it is zero. And I made another slide about this statement because it's very, very important to know that, of course, in a disease where lifetime treatment is necessary, you want to have an oral drug. So I'm talking about only the oral delivery now. And again, going back, that the general view was that orally it will not have at all. And there were very early experiments, going back again almost 50 years, when researchers thought that this is the case. And also there were what I summarize here. I don't want to tell you word by word, but another statement told that we understand why it is, because our digestive system or gut is filled with enzyme what would destroy pyrophosphate. So if you take pyrophosphate, it will be destroyed immediately, therefore it was useless. And somehow, for reasons I don't want to discuss now, let's say it's about 2 or 3 years ago actually, I was sitting at my computer reading those papers and started to think about that. Are we sure that this is true? And also, a graffiti came across, and I saw that, okay, that's probably an anarchist kid who made the graffiti, but a little anarchism, or how should I say, not trusting everything is not bad in science. So I followed this suggestion, and instead of doing any fancy experiments, I went to the PXE mice and gave to our mice pyrophosphate in drinking water. And number one, I was very happy that they drank it as normal water. There was no problem. Of course, that's what they got, so they didn't have to. But they never told that they are unhappy. On the other hand, immediately we got extremely, I don't want to tell you what kind of experiments we did, but those were fast experiments reflecting to the calcification, and on the right side, the columns show that adding different amount of pyrophosphate into the drinking water inhibited calcification to a large extent. It did not put back to zero, but 70%, 80% inhibition, which is a great progress, I think. And from this point of view, I will show you different animal experiments. Different, like Yoni introduced the calcification of the vibrissae, the hair capsules, which in mouse. We don't have that, but this PXE, we think, and I think Yoni declared that, or Yoni suggested, that it's very, very similar process to the skin calcification. And you can see up on the upper panel that there are many hair capsules develop calcification, and much less develops if normally, and much less develops lower panel if we add the mice to drink, we put the mice to drink pyrophosphate. And when we make a computerized tomographic analysis, it turns out again that 60–70% reduction of calcification happens. And then we have another mouse model, very similar, it calcifies faster, it's a sister disease to PXE. Again, we are not interested in the details. Beautiful reduction. This is another experiment. The home take message is that we did it on several ways. We added that before, after, always got beautiful reduction of calcification. That's again the hair capsules of the vibrissae. We wanted to see the arteries because the cardiovascular system of the patients are affected. It's quite, I could not do that, but I work together with very nice younger lady students and postdocs. They are very helpful. So they could prepare the whole arterial system of a mouse. It takes a couple of hours, but they are good in it. And what I want to show you is the lower limb, the leg of the mice. How does it calcify if you add pyrophosphate or if you do not add pyrophosphate? And I will show you enlarged pictures. I hope it is obvious that on top of the left panel, there is a little piece of the leg artery, flat and stained with a compound what makes a pinkish red color if there is calcium deposit. And you can see that if you do not treat the mice, there are many, many more spots than on the right, in the middle or on the right side, where there are much less. And also, if we cut the artery across, we can see that calcification happens using the same visualization with the same dye. Calcification happens present in the media layer of the artery. What we knew beforehand that this is the case in the human disease as well. So we are looking now at the same calcification, but it's much, much reduced, as the right panel shows. If we can quantify this with a similar computer tomography, the reduction in the arteries of the calcification is tremendous. And again, we didn't do anything else, but for a few weeks, we put our mice on pyrophosphate, and that's what they get to drink, and they could drink as much as they wanted. The last experiment was that we took the kidney. The kidney calcifies also in this mice. I don't think it calcifies too much in human, but it's a good model. And again, we got a reduced calcification when the mice got pyrophosphate in. So at that point, we bottled more than one. We opened more than one bottle of champagne. We were very happy. And then we turned out to drink something else. Not red wine. This looks like red wine. We got the permit from the Hungarian Medical Agency, and we started to take pyrophosphate on a more controlled way than the mice, because we wanted to know whether it is absorbed in human or not. I want to remind you again that the general dogma why I started my talk was that it is not supposed to appear in the plasma because the bioavailability is zero. Now, our animal experiments contradict that, because if there is an effect, and I hope I provided evidence that there is a tremendous effect to the right direction, it must have been absorbed in mice. But it's not necessarily true for humans, so you have to do the experiment. And 10 of us in the laboratory, we started to drink instead of red wine. We drank pyrophosphate, and I just show you two plots, the two most important plots. On the left, down, that's the normal level. It's about around 1, roughly, in the plasma. And that has been measured before we drank pyrophosphate. And there were 10 people drinking that, and in each case, within 30 minutes, pyrophosphate level jumped up to 2 times, 3 times, maybe in one of 2 cases, 6 times higher than the resting normal basal level. So what does it mean? It means that number one, which is very important, it absorbs in human. All 10 individuals showed very nice absorption. It also shows what is not surprising, because we see that many experiments, almost always, that there are individual differences. Let's understand we are different. And then it goes down, and the right side, the right plot shows that if you, again, something very trivial, If you drink more, your plasma level will be higher. If you drink less, your plasma level will be less. And that's what is the pharmacokinetic window, or whatever you call it in science. The important message is that the green plot shows a moderate level, moderate dose, but that is more than enough to restore the plasma level of pyrophosphate, which is missing or too low in PXE patients. So it looks like this is a relatively simple way. The dogma was not true, at least I think. But I want to go back to my previous. So that's what I told, that the bioavailability is 0, there is no way, and so on and so on. And I want to share you this little anecdote with you. When I prepared these slides, one of my 6 grandchildren, a 7-year-old boy, came to me and told, "What are you doing?" And I told that, I work on it, and so on and so on. And sometimes he's interested, what is the research, and he comes to the lab to look at the mice. But at this point, he told me that, listen, once you told me that you can do whatever you want in the computer. And frankly, I never told that. But I was very proud that he believed. And then I wanted to reciprocate this trust. So I told him that, what do you want? And then I noticed that the anarchistic blood within the family goes from generation to generation, because he told, let's make fire. Okay, let's make fire. And together with this little kid, we burned out the dogma. The dogma is not enough. And there are quite a few good news. That first of all, what I try to show you, that the oral pyrophosphate has a potential in treatment of 2 currently incurable diseases. One of them is PXE, the other is a sister disease where it's very similar. I didn't want to talk about that. It could be prove useful in other conditions also, and the really important, what I want to read you now, the risk of oral PPA to patients is probably negligible. The WHO, the World Health Organization, considers pyrophosphate as a non-toxic physiological metabolite. We know it's physiological because it's present normally in our circulation and in our body, with a high maximal tolerable daily intake value. So the largest dose what we ever had was 30% of this maximum value. And the suggested, or the medium, is about 10 or 15, I don't remember, 15%. So we are far from the maximal tolerable. Moreover, it is used generally in food industry. Joe knows about that. So this is a food additive. What we take maybe a smaller amount, but since it's not toxic, many foods, including sausage, cheese, I don't know, even toothpaste contains it, and there are no danger. Also, FDA, the Federal Drug and Agency, Food and Drug Agency. I'm sorry about that. I am from another country. We have another name for our FDA. Has a code for federal regulations that this substance is generally recognized as safe when used in accordance with good manufacturing practice. So there are many evidence to suggest that pyrophosphate, both from the point of view of physiology and the disease, and from the point of view of its own chemical nature, it's a good candidate to develop into a treatment or a drug. And I'm not sure I want to show you maybe one more result, because I was talking about when we dissolve it in water and drink it. We were curious from several reasons. what happens if we add it to the food. So we made boiled potatoes, smashed it. Instead of adding salt, we added pyrophosphate, mixed, ate, same thing. You can see up there, very similar uptake, a little bit slower, but it really doesn't. So if animal experiment shows or demonstrates what Kuhn already told, that most probably if you have transient increase in your pyrophosphate to the normal or a little bit above, once a day, that comes out from animal experiments anyhow, then it's enough to prevent calcification. So we will see, this is, I think this is just the beginning of a long friendship between pyrophosphate and us and the disease. Again, this is not that important. But there are a few interesting sentences I want to read for you before I go and finish my talk. Together with Kuhn and with another Dutch scientist who was Kuhn's supervisor or head of the institute, a very well-known scientist, we were invited to write a review about the whole field. And I had a few sentences from the review, and if you don't mind, I read it for you. The number of potential treatment options for PXE has considerably increased in the past years. Past years means 3 or 4, not very long. Through the basic science that has elucidated the molecular defects underlying PXE. The treatment problem has not been solved yet, but the future for patients has certainly brightened. And I think that's a very, very important and optimistic message, and fortunately it's true. And there is another one. We hope that in the end, the PXE Patients Association, PXE International, may see the practical fruits of its persistent support for research into the molecular basis of PXE. And I cannot tell anything else, but really we seek your support in science. And at the beginning, I want to show the face of another guy who told the same thing a little bit before I told, but I use this to list the people participated in the research, people whom we discussed the research but not actively participated in, and also very important, the grant agencies we got the money from, and one of them is PXE International, and I thank you for your attention. Sure.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Andras, for questioning authority, essentially. We're really happy to have that discovery. We remember very well, in fact, going to Piet Borst, the guy in the Netherlands, who's a grandfather of many great research projects, and essentially looking at how do we actually make a difference and see if we can make this pyrophosphate drinkable. And he said, no, never going to happen. So thank you very much.